But you know what? I've talked long enough. I think I'm just going to pass off the baton to Leon and Ray. Hey, Ray, Leon, take it away, guys.
I think I'm gonna, sit back a little bit and let Ray pretty much talk the whole time.
He's sick, right?
Yeah, you're gonna make me do this. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna make it. Yeah, we're gonna make you do this.
Marcelo, Ray got a cold.
Yeah, and now I got the Ray's got a cold in stereo.
So Ray's got a cold. So I can't really. I mean, I definitely don't want to pair with Rick. So I'm thinking that Marcelo, you can weigh in on this too. Okay, Ray, can you share?
Okay, in full disclosure, okay, I have absolutely no idea what these two have cooked up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have zero idea what
Yes.
they cooked up. They did not share this with me ahead of time, and I know where you live, Ray. Just kidding, but seriously,
Nelu, do you want to share?
Get yourself
Nelu,
better.
No problem.
Definitely needs to share the screen here.
Sure, just let me know.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So we'll see where this goes.
This is exciting. Now we're getting somewhere.
Now
I'm excited.
Somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. But we'll talk. We'll talk. So who's got this slide deck? Because I'm not joking. I literally do not know what these two.
This is the best. So everyone, Marcelo has no idea like what's on his slide. But of course, I expect him to know all of this. So as a very old and wise agile coach, he as Saba said, this should be normal for him. So this is going to be awesome.
Ooh.
So Nelu, do you have the link? Nelu,
I have no idea what you're talking about, Ray.
No, Nelu.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Do you have the link? Can you open it, please?
I'm on that. Give me a second, please.
If not, I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
I just the thing is that my computer got a little bit logged.
Okay, so while she does that, who remembers the Industrial Revolution? Who remembers their American history?
The American Revolution, that's the whole Hamilton thing?
No, revolution.
Oh.
Industrial Revolution. If I said that, I'm sorry.
I do like industrial music. I like industrial music, EDM thing.
1929 or 39. What are you talking about?
So Omar, the two Puerto Ricans, remember the Industrial Revolution. We're from Puerto Rico. What's wrong with this picture?
Right.
So the Industrial Revolution had two parts, and the second part of the second half of the Industrial Revolution was the automation of processes, and something that you guys hold dear and near to your heart, automobile production.
Let's hold off on that a little bit. So, do you not have access to this, or you can't present, Nelu?
See my screen? It's presenting. Just give it a second.
Yeah, it's loaded.
I'm sorry. Well,
you do something. Well, that's okay.
Nelu, you broke your computer?
Yeah, I think it. Just give me a second. It's getting there. Oh, can you see it now? No, I just stopped sharing. See. Okay.
So I'm just gonna share. So we'll share.
Oh, you will? You can see. Okay.
Is that a picture of Leon?
Okay, I got it now. I don't know. Can I still share? Yeah, I got it.
Try again.
There you go. Is it good?
That looks good. I mean, that's the picture of Rick when he went to Italy. So here he is holding up the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or as he calls it, the Leaning Tower of Pizza. Keep on telling him that's not how it is, but he's working on getting more cultured. So now I need to ask Marcelo this. This is Marcelo. So, and we're also gonna ask the group here, okay? So, chicken or egg, which came first, lean or agile? Put it in the chat. Lean or agile? Which came first? Which came first, lean or agile? Are people
I
trying to
think
spell
they
my
all
name? My name has an O in it. So
Okay.
people trying to get my attention, just say Leon or
We got a couple of high Kennys. We got a lot of leans, and we got only one agile.
oh, at the moment. I tell you what, if doing agile, you got to break a few eggs.
Sounds like a Hellman's commercial.
What is lean for sure? What is lean for sure? What does that mean? What is lean for sure?
It started a lot before the agile.
Oh yeah. How much before though? Is it like, when you're thinking about Star Wars from episode 1 to episode 9, right? And the number of years in between, what are we talking about, Jorge?
Like that happened just after the Second World War in Japan, when they started with the lean transformation in the industries there. And then that guy brought it into the US until the 80s, I think.
Okay.
Yep. Decades of difference.
Well done, Jorge. Well done. Lean definitely was first. And when was Agile? What year was Agile branded? Who knows? Put in the chat. What year was Agile branded? When did they brand it? And Jorge again. Pretty much, Jorge, you and I are going to do this. So I'm ditching Marcelo. Still haven't. I think he's on mute and doesn't know how to get off.
No,
So you know how to do that, Jorge. So it's gonna be me and you. So can we have next slide, Nelu? So this flow production, right? Flow production, the assembly line. Who did that? Who invented it, and what is it? Put in the chat.
Okay, got Toyota, TPS, Vic says Ford, Alfredo says Ford. So 2 for Toyota, 2 for Ford. Need some more votes. 3 for Toyota. We need some more votes.
It's funny that's car companies, right?
Yeah, interesting.
Yes. Do you know there was an electric car? One of the first cars was an electric car. Who knows about that?
Mercedes.
Yep. When was it built?
About early turn of before the turn of the century. 1890 something or
Yep. Electric cars are already there.
Yeah.
Yep. So definitely right. So the Industrial Revolution, as Ray talked about earlier, kind of started this all off, but Ford definitely started off with the assembly line, this type of flow production, and Toyota kind of perfected it, right? Perfected it in many ways. So lean is very much associated with Toyota and the Toyota Production System, or TPS. And then, of course, later on, there was the TPS report. So if you read the TPS report, it talks all about the Toyota Production System and its benefits. So next slide. So you got to fill in the blanks here. So there's 2 words in a sense of what did an endless stream of blank. I need do you have the match game music, Marcelo? Not quite. No, not at all.
That's Jeopardy.
Not at all. We need older people. Older people know this. Younger people don't. So Saba, you don't know it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Andrea figured out the answer. Andrea, what was the car?
LT?
Model T.
Model T.
What do you
All right.
mean?
So who owns the Model T right now?
The guy that wants to go to space?
Yes. So who doesn't know who Mr. T is? I want to really know who doesn't know who Mr. T is. That's kind of my main question, right?
I pity the fool.
You beat me to it. I pity the fool.
Right. So Mr. T, you know, one of the best Rocky 3, of course, Clubber Lang. It's got to be the best. But what was the Model T about? What did Henry Ford want to do with the Model T? Did he care about the
An
customers?
affordable car for the masses.
Okay.
Which meant what?
I'm going to throw a hint in the chat.
Which meant what?
Starts with the letter S.
You can't say that stuff on Marcel on Zoom.
Hey, it's a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word. Not quite right. Actually, take that back. It's a 6-letter word.
Did Henry Ford care about what users wanted or what people wanted or customers wanted?
You can have any color you want as long as it's black.
Exactly.
The
So Henry Ford, the Model T was black. Period. No red. No, I mean, like that was it. Why did he do that?
Low cost.
Assembly line.
Ready?
And repeat.
Yeah.
Somebody say it. Yes. Mass production or scale.
Scale.
Exactly. So now, you know, also a lean type thing, right? Very efficient, no waste, right? We weren't making green Model Ts that weren't sold. So, but the buying public didn't have much choices, right? But it was easy to produce, low cost to produce, all of it, affordability, as everyone said, right? Let's have next slide. Yes. Now, this one might be tougher. So we talked a lot about Henry Ford. What lean core concept did Henry Ford fail at? He succeeded at a lot, but which one did he fail at? What types of things was Model T's not really doing, right? In terms of
Customer
lean,
choice.
right? Customer choice. Yep. So what did the public want the Model T for? What did they want it for? What was the value for the customer?
Go from point A to B.
Okay, that might be some of it, but what else? So I is saying you didn't actually give them what they wanted, but what they needed. So maybe you can expand. I could expand on that. But what else? Okay, they could get from point A to point B. But is that all the customers? Is that all they wanted? Did they? And everybody only buy it for that?
Convenience, low cost.
Right. So what changed over time? So maybe they started off saying they want to go from point A to point B, but what changed over time? Expectations, right?
Yeah.
Let's get up
When
right
you
now.
get, that's when you get something, you start to want more, you start to see more, you anticipate things you couldn't do before.
Yes. So Marcelo, it got air conditioning later on. Like later on, it was air conditioning.
I think he's trying to type acceptability or acceleration or something like that.
Oh, he said air conditioning. I saw him saying AC.
Gave them access. Places
Right.
that they could not get to in a reasonable time, they now could get to. They could get to places, they could get access to things because of the mobility the vehicle gave them that they could not readily get via other modes of transportation. Okay, it gave them access. Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
As Mel Gibson said, freedom. Yes. Right.
So who was the first company to really have a lean process? Was it Toyota or was it Ford?
So put in the chat, Toyota or Ford,
Okay.
or something else.
Ah, Andrea.
Kellogg's.
Andrea's on to
Nice.
something.
That's a good one.
Andrea's on to something. That's all I'm
Yeah.
gonna say.
Right? So Americans are what? Americans are all about the Joneses. What's going on with my neighbor, right? And who's got a Lambo? So it's all about that, right? Who's got a Tesla? You know, when we had the gas hiccup, I'm sure a lot of people were looking at Teslas and their neighbors as their neighbors were being really snooty to them when we're all filling up, you know, plastic bags with gasoline. Now what are we doing with them? Right? So let's go to the next slide. Okay, maybe not. So I'll go ahead and share.
Are you able to shift around?
I think you got it.
There we go.
So what did the Toyota team see that Henry Ford did not? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Marcel, I can't see the chat items, so
There.
you can let me know what I'm seeing in the chat.
Okay. Andrea keeps looking at my notebook, Leon. We have to hide it better. That's a word in the right direction. Ah, Bill is on to something. Okay. Toyota teams saw the need to find improvements, not just to create a streamlined flow of things, but to actually actively seek to improve that flow. That doesn't mean that Henry Ford didn't do that, but the Toyota team or the culture of Taiichi Ono made that implicit. Okay.
Right. So I mean, Henry Ford was cared about reducing costs, having high efficiency, and don't change anything. Don't change anything, because I'm good to go. If you change one thing, you know, then it's going to mess up. So you know, don't, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Right. That's kind of the mentality. Where Toyota saw it a little differently. And what's do we have that today? Do we have kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality versus a continuous improvement mindset? Do we see that? Can you give me some examples of, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and continuous improvement mindset?
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That would be companies going against implementing Agile, that they are questioning it and want to keep on doing things the way they're doing it because, again, it's working.
What's wrong with keeping what's working? Keeping what's working, you know? If it's working, why change it?
Because it could be better.
I'm research in motion on BlackBerry in the 90s. People are buying Blackberries off the shelf. Why should I change?
Because in 2001, BlackBerry is not there anymore.
Why? What happened? What happened?
Because they refused to, you know, they
obsolete.
Yeah.
Obsolete by whom?
Apple and Android.
By the customer.
No, he was right. Omar was right, because Apple came by and they said, I have this thing called a cell phone. And people said, I like that Apple better than I like this BlackBerry.
And the whole keyboard thing wasn't as much of an issue as people thought, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Hey, by the way, what happened to Henry Ford when he refused to change? From an employee perspective, what happened to Henry Ford and the Ford company because he refused to change? What do you think the people did?
Started creating their own vehicles, started their own companies.
Yes, Dodge.
Yep, the Dodge brothers. They actually engineered a better engine for the Model A, and Henry Ford did not want to pursue that, so they said, "Okay, we'll go build it for ourselves," and hence started the Dodge company.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So this idea about continuous improvement and improvements in general had a couple points here that we want to say. Is this idea of looking at what's the actual volume needed and making sure we align our machine production to that, and looking to improve quality, by having machines monitor themselves. What a concept. Thinking about process steps that are intelligent. To me, this is kind of a little bit of a forerunner of AI, where it notifies a previous step of its needed materials, right? And then this idea of information management, all the way back then, the power of information management, the power of data. Things could be made simpler, more efficient, higher quality, more accurate, etc. Because Henry Ford did really well at a continuous flow of the same product, but Toyota wanted to go to a continuous flow of a variety of products. In order to do that, you got to step up your game. There's a lot more to that, especially logistically. Thoughts, comments, questions on this? Jorge, thoughts on this?
Yes, Leon. Let me tell you what is happening to me. I'm getting into becoming a full-time agile coach. And I talked to a guy that is actually a product owner. And he told me, you know what, I was looking to become an agile coach, and now I'm a product owner. So what I see is that we need to be thinking not than just producing fast, but just producing fast to get the outcomes. We need to be more lean, not just agile, because both together is the solution for what is happening with the companies. In no way we won't go anywhere.
Yep.
So that's what I'm learning and talking to more people, and I'm getting excited, maybe getting into that more than just agile coach. I mean, an agile coach needs to understand all these and to help in the process.
Yep. And I think that's a great point, Jorge, is the power of product ownership. And there's so much to that, right? And I think it can be a dream job. It can be a burden. There are ups, there are downs, but it's certainly a fantastic journey if you're a product owner. So I would highly recommend it.
Seconded.
Funny how we had a discussion on being what was it, agility? And next we're having a conversation on lean. There was a reason for that.
I don't know.
So let's hit the next slide. So lean is very much caught up in what Toyota did and the Toyota production system. So here are some points. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at this. And it's not cellular layouts like cellular phones, but take a look at this and type in the chat some of the principles that are resonating with you, that you think are important, that are just jumping out at you.
Okay, so we got quality, empowerment, involvement, customer focus. Okay. Pull, employee involvement, self-directed teams.
Yep. I think for me, what was revolutionary was the employee involvement and empowerment. I mean, people like, you know, if you're thinking about a manufacturing line, you do not like, why would we empower them? Why would we involve them? Because we're in management, we should know what to do. To me, I think the employee involvement and empowerment was very, very powerful and very revolutionary for the time. So what are other principles? What are other constructs? Which other constructs have employee involvement and empowerment? Who can put that in the chat? What other ways of working have employee involvement and empowerment as key?
Agile.
Yep. What else?
Sport teams, right?
What else? I want to put. Right. I think now people recognize that having employee involvement and empowerment helps everything. Helps your product, helps delivery, helps, you know, get feedback. It helps everything. And I think, to me, you know, all flexible resources certainly important. Quality at the source, revolutionary for its time. But I think the thing that has sort of stayed and magnified more than anything else, to me, my opinion, is employee involvement and empowerment. And really engaging your employees, making them feel like they're part of the company. They're important, not just on the line. All right, let's have any other thoughts before we move on? All right, let's move on. Next slide. Uh-oh. We forgot to put these together, didn't we?
What'll really make your noodle is, were they ever really apart?
Ooh. Okay, so peaches and herb, peanut butter and jelly. Can we have one without the other? Are they really apart? Is there an intersection? Put in the chat where the intersection is between lean and agile. What do they both have in common? What does the Venn diagram look like for them?
Okay, I'll pose it this way. Okay, what stands at the crossroads right here? What stands at the crossroads right here?
Are you trying to do something?
Mm-hmm.
Because, uh-oh.
Okay.
It looks like a nose ring.
Yep, I know. But just like before, I'll put up a hint. Starts with a.
Are you gonna do the whole letter thing with the blanks? And I can't tell how many blanks there are.
Already did it. Too late.
Okay, so does everyone see Marcelo C? Exactly. This is exactly, Andrea, what I'm talking about. Marcelo, your audience wants to know how many letters from the C.
Okay, hang on.
Customer?
Thank you.
Customer.
Correct. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
They are
Do
both.
they have a customer in common?
Mm-hmm.
The customer is at the intersection.
Mm-hmm.
What does the customer benefit? How does the customer benefit from lean, and how does the customer benefit from agile?
feedback
Who can
loop
tell me?
smaller.
Is what smaller?
The feedback loop.
Feedback loop smaller.
Mm-hmm.
What else? How does the customer benefit from lean, and how does the customer benefit from agile?
Consistency, and then meeting expectations, changing demands from agile.
Mhm.
Quality,
Others.
quality.
Quality in both. Agree.
Thank you. Okay.
One more.
Lean, you're limiting waste, so you're gonna get more efficient, so they may have faster, both, I guess, fast time to market.
Faster return on investment.
Okay. So, and can you have one without the other?
I think you could do lean. I'm not sure. I know enough about agile or no, but it seems to me like you want both if you're going to do agile effectively. But
Yep.
I don't know
Is agile in lean, or is lean in agile?
Lean is in agile.
That's how I see it. Lean's in
Agile wasn't agile born out of lean principles?
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
What we call agile today may have been coined as a term before, but agility has been around. The ideas, the principles, the concepts behind being agile have been around for hundreds, if not a few thousand years. Okay, I posit to you, consider. Do you think any large endeavor undertaken by the Romans, do you think they weren't managing a budget? You don't think that they maybe had to consider not building wasteful things? And maybe they were, and maybe they had to be agile and go around that thing that's, a mountain that we can't blow up. We got to figure out how to go around it. So these concepts have been around for a long time. We've only just come to really ascribe these particular names to them because they're useful terms for us to be able to stick in our pockets, and the way that we can use them is been simplified to the point where someone who kind of at least understands the idea behind it can connect with it much more simply. So we've basically come to taking some rather large concepts and distilled them down to where they're more accessible. They're difficult to master. They take a long time, but they're at least easily enough to grasp. Okay, consider that most of the people that were in Henry Ford's production line system, okay, they had the same level of education as finishing school that our average second grader has today, maybe third grader at most. Okay, and so when that system was put in place by Henry Taylor, or rather not Henry Taylor, by Robert Taylor, okay, one of the approaches that he was taking was that this helps elevate people. Oddly enough, people thinking about waterfall approach to things. He was actually trying to elevate people's standard of living. Take that into consideration.
Yep, I will definitely tell you that agile software development was definitely influenced by lean and lean thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's an interesting debate about what's in what. But there's definitely an intersection. There's definitely a nose ring in between those. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. And we were talking about this, right? So I think what we want to do is we want folks to think about, we want you to give a little bit of time. And I think we might do breakout rooms, but I think I kind of want to talk about it in the chat. We'll talk about it as a group to take a look at what's the value of the core concepts and principles of lean, what agile principle supports it. So think about the agile principles and think about the core concepts of lean. what are those intersections or what are those associations? So think about the 12 Agile principles. Maybe we can work backwards on this. Think about the 12 Agile principles and what core concepts of Lean support them. So in other words, where are they connected more specifically? So we're going a level down now from the Venn diagram. So who wants to talk about that?
Maybe I can talk a little bit. You know, I have been for years. I have been studying both things, and I want to put together my business because it's so amazing when you learn and apply those principles in Agile. And you know, to me, the frustration is when people think that they are doing Agile when they are just doing sprints and producing code, and for what? And I think that's the main thing about the product mindset, that you need to produce something that is useful, to get the outcomes you're looking for. And that's, I guess that's our duty as Agile coaches, is to help companies to do that transformation, to start thinking about products, outcomes, and real value.
So I'll start you off a little bit. Agile principle number 1. What's the association of this principle, Agile principle, to core concepts or principles of Lean?
You start Lean, you start it from the endpoint.
Which
So
is?
You start from your endpoint where what you want to do. So you start from the customer. You're looking at the customer and see what you can provide to the customer.
MVP.
Right. So you're thinking about outcomes, you're thinking about the customer. Both of them have outcomes and customers in mind. What's another Agile principle that has a strong association with Lean?
I would say I'd go to 12 just real quick. Regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become a more effective and tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly.
Yep. What's another one?
Simplicity, just developing exactly what is needed, not more, not less.
Exactly, because Lean's all about reducing waste, not building in waste into your product, right? And sometimes simplicity is very difficult. What's another Agile principle?
Welcoming change.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
What's another principle?
Interactions, face-to-face interactions, keep the communication going, not only between members of the team, but with the client, customers, or end users.
Okay. How about sustainable development?
Also, talking about what we talked earlier about Ford and Toyota, continuous attention to technical excellence and expertise, it's in their horizon as well.
Yep.
I'm going to piggyback off of what Godwin said, because if we don't pay attention to that, what do we introduce into our products? 2 words. First one was called technical. What's the second one?
Debt.
Okay, and what is debt? Unless you knowingly undertake it. Thank you, Andrea.
Waste. Yeah.
And what is waste? One of the Lean deadly sins.
Mm-hmm.
Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom.
So let's go to the next slide. So speaking of waste, what's the tie back to common practices today? How do we tie that back to today?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so thinking about what are waste of today? What's the waste of today?
Unnecessary meetings.
Okay.
Let's type in the chat. Yep, unnecessary meetings. What else is the waste of today?
Email.
Money is a waste. Well, if you have too much money, I can give you a routing number that you can send that excess money to.
And make sure Marcelo shares with me, please.
Don't put dependencies.
Ooh, dependencies. Ah, I love it, Kemi. Thank you. Erica's got steps in the process.
Writing code that no one uses. How about features that no one uses? Is that waste?
Yeah. Here's a somewhat useless bit of trivia question. Anybody here use Microsoft Word? You guys use Microsoft Word, right? Okay. What is the percentage of features in Microsoft Words that 95% of the users use? In other words, 95% of the people who use Microsoft Word tools, what percentage of all the features in Microsoft Word do that 95% use?
20%.
5.
0.
5.
That's
8% of
8%.
Microsoft Word's features are used by 95% of the users out there. Thank you, Rod, for remembering Clippy.
Yep.
I know the guy who designed Clippy, oddly enough.
Yes.
Why'd they get rid of the Clippy?
Now, to Leon's point, then creating features that nobody uses, that is not engaging in customer feedback. They're not listening to feedback loops.
Right. So how many people here, when you ship your features, actually ask your customers or get any customer data on the features that are being used in production? Maybe you should.
Yeah.
Maybe you should.
Actually, I'm doing that right now.
Right? Maybe you should. So let's go to the next slide.
I don't think there's a next slide. It's the
There
end.
is.
Go back one, please. All right. So here, guys, I'm gonna throw out a lean type of waste. Give me an example.
Okay.
Waiting. What's an example of
According to my wife, that's not waste.
Yeah.
You want an example
Maybe.
of it?
Yeah. At work. It's an
Handoffs.
example.
And
Oh, waiting at
Yeah.
work. Waiting at
Wait.
work.
What other common example is there that falls into the category of waiting?
change control board.
Cost.
Change board.
Mhm.
Cost of waiting.
Need to wait for somebody to approve something
Yep.
that no one will ever damn read. So why am I getting this approved?
Mhm.
Very common examples of waiting. Overproduction. I think Leon. No, I think Marcelo had the best example of overproducing something that people don't use. But can you think of another thing that overproduction may be the case? Making something so fantastic when it really didn't need to be that fantastic. I think we used to
How
call
about
that gold
that would be
plating.
gold plating.
Yeah.
Gold plating. Yeah.
Whoa, hang on a second. Kemi just threw down the mic. Fixation on user story. As a, I wanna, so I canna. Okay. True story. 2016 February, freezing my backside off. Okay, flying up to the Great White North. This was in your neck of the woods, Kemi, because I had a client that somebody had come into their business analysis area and said everything going to a development team has to be written as I want so that I can. Nothing shipped for 6 months. Nothing. So I had to fly up to Toronto in freezing winter and teach them how to actually build a backlog all over again. True story.
Wow.
So I kind of want to leave you with something. How would you incorporate lean into your work, into your organization today?
That's one of the slides, by the way. I think that's the next slide over. But that's a good question.
Yeah.
No, let's just tackle it now.
Ray actually kind of started it. Too much meetings, not making everything to be a meeting, and just also Kemi said something about frustration on user stories, on trying to make things the way they are on the book. There's so many things that we can stop by doing all those, especially when we have teams that are just growing and you want every story to be the way it's written. You want the backlog to be refined the same way you want it to be done. Without that, no work should be done. So also eliminating red tapes by managers who overmanages teams and want to be involved in everything the team is doing.
So how would, there you go, and others, how would you implement lean principles at work? What's some ideas? How would you incorporate lean at work?
I will say every time they ask you to build something, you need to ask why. Who will be using it? Try to understand, ask all those questions to understand why the heck are we building that? Who will be using it? Can we talk to them? And then understand their need, understand their mindset, and then you can build something a lot better. Actually, I have been going through the book, what is that? Storytelling, user story mapping is awesome. It's an awesome book. It tells so many great ideas on how to do that more efficiently.
Great, fantastic. Please go on to Amazon and leave Jeff a review.
Of course I can.
I'll tell him that I sent you.
Sure.
Thank you, Jorge. Others, how could you incorporate lean at work, lean principles at work? Other comments? What if your culture is different? Can any culture, can any corporate culture or country's culture support lean practices, lean mindset?
Not really.
Sure.
Well, because it also depends on how open the company is for it. Because for example, I did like a whole project, I presented it to help save time and money, in a specific process, and they just didn't want to go with it. So, and it's something that, could be, of course, worked on, perfected, but at the same time, like if you know that you're gonna save time and money, why not try and go for it? But it's just, I guess it just depends on the company. Some companies are more open to these things and others are not.
Yeah, it requires trust to be able to listen to customers and to employees.
Yeah, I believe Leon's question was, can any company benefit?
Yeah, that's right.
No, the question was, what can a culture?
Culture, yeah.
And a culture is no. A company,
now,
yes.
Yeah, and one of my thinking is, if you think your company culture or organizational culture can't, what's one way in which some lean principles could appeal to your company's management or executives? What's one argument I could make?
Engagement, employee engagement.
Engagement could be positive, but also could be a threat to some folks. What other lean principles I might want to pitch?
Better product, increase sales.
Consistency.
Constant delivery.
Right? Consistency, sustainability. Andrea talked about saving money. What if I went to them saying, I know how we can save money? Would I get their attention?
Yep.
So?
Yep.
Right?
So you're gonna
imagine, and what if I actually save the money? And what if some manager could put it in their review? Might I say, hey, I have another idea too. You willing to take that? So sometimes you can I like how Jorge said running experiments, especially if you can start off with how lean can save money. And you might want to talk about, well, there are some other lean principles too that go along with that. It can be a good argument to make.
Yeah.
So one more person talking about how they could potentially incorporate lean in their organization. Kimmy, did anybody smoke cigarettes anymore?
Well, they used to, and I was, let me say, fortunate enough to work with people that would go for cigarette breaks every hour and have conversations while having that cigarette break that I end up doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in and claim that they've done it, or say, hey, Kemi and I worked on this. I don't smoke, I don't drink, so it's really annoying that it's okay to go for cigarette breaks and I can go for breaks unless it's my lunch break. But hey, you're right. No one goes for cigarette break because we're no longer at work, right?
Right.
But it's a huge waste in the system. And even it is encouraged in the office back in the days where like, do you want a cigarette break? No, I don't want a cigarette break. I don't smoke. But people will run off and you're left holding, the space. So sorry, that's just my rant.
That's okay.
All right. It's all good.
So I would like one more person to talk about how they could incorporate lean in their organization. How might they do that? Maybe someone we haven't heard from. Anybody? Or would you like to type in the chat?
Yeah. Or if somebody has an opinion for something that they've heard somebody else tried.
Yes, I was, how could you incorporate lean in your organization? What are some ideas that you might have? We talked a little bit about starting with saving money, saying, thinking about reducing costs, reducing waste, and starting off with that, leading with that. But you could move on to something else, some other lean principles.
I don't know if this is a lean principle, but one thing we're trying where I work is setting up KPIs, scorecards. So basically, and these are kind of like high level metrics for the organization. So the VPs would set up their scorecards and then cascade it to their directors. And they have this huge portfolio using board. And the VPs will look at what the directors are doing, and if there is anything that is not aligned to their initiative, they can't go ahead and execute that. And also they put a limit to the number of initiatives that you can present to the board. They still have a board. You can present to the board at any given time. So that reduces running multiple initiatives at the same time. So they're beginning to look at getting work done as opposed to starting new initiatives. So yeah, and they were the one that back at work, I wasn't there at that time. They had this huge lean training and consultants coming in, and they have all these posters around the walls of their offices, but they never practice it, and they're still struggling to practice.
The last thing I want to leave you in, we talked a lot about the principles, lean principles, but one of the ones that I think sometimes people struggle with or maybe find it difficult to find the value in is, and sometimes this sounds counterintuitive, but delays in decision-making. How can delays in decision-making be a lean principle? Who can tell me, or who wants to put in the chat?
I put that down. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but what came to mind is, and as it ties into the lean principle, is the transport. And I can't remember the other one whereby, oh yes, I think it's talent or something like that has to do with utilizing people's talent, right? If the organization is really hierarchical, it is going to be very hard for decisions to be made, and there will be delays in it because you would have to wait for the manager. The teams could not make that decision on their own unless there is someone of authority present.
Now, let me say it a different way. What if I said, what's the benefit of delaying commitment?
You leave things to the last responsible moment sometimes. But there are some decisions that you have to make there and there. So it all depends. You have to be able to make decision on your feet and at the same time take time, making decisions. So it depends.
You could have more options to actually, before you make a decision. So you'd be making an educated decision instead of a rash one.
Yep. And I like some of the comments in the chat that it would be you're open to keep learning from feedback, right? So you can keep on incorporating feedback. And so if you ship out something quickly, you might make a mistake or you might not align with your customers, right? Where if you delay commitment, delay decision making, you're getting more information. But there's a time at which I'll call it the last responsible moment when you have to make a decision and you have to go forward. But then at that point, you've gained as much information as possible. So you've maximized your advantage, or you've gotten as much benefit as possible out of it, right? So
you make mistakes, so shipping to your customers, I think you want to shorten the feedback loop, right? So if you look at it from the angle of experiment, then it's never a mistake. You're collecting feedback. I don't know if you know this case study on Cypos. They were a startup that delivers shoes. Their model is fantastic. I'll just type in the name. It's in the public domain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of wrap up with that. Lean, to me, lean is all around us. So it inhabits everything. And think about lean, because we often, I think we forget about it. I think we forget about it, or we look at whatever the thing that's hot for the moment. Let's just say the topic du jour, the framework du jour. And thinking about these lean principles, I think these just keep on lasting, right? These are just fantastic principles that you can incorporate in anything you're doing, in your professional life, in your personal life, corporate life, organizational life. So I would encourage you to come back to these lean principles, print them out, put them on a card, think about these, and bring it up in your organizations. Marcelo, Ray, final thoughts?
For the lady who tried something, she said she tried something and they didn't buy it. Maybe try again.
Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking about that. I'll try to make it better. That was
Start with
probably my
saving
first
money.
prototype.
Start with
so I'll
reducing
just try
costs
to-
and saving money.
Okay.
You get their attention then.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
If that doesn't work, try Freebear.
There you go. There you go. Well,
Marcelo, final thoughts.
Yeah, I put a question in the chat, and so I'm just going to say it. So, can you do more of something and be lean or in the pursuit of being lean? Okay. At work, I always sign my emails with the following 4 words. As always, ask questions. What do I mean by asking more questions? Ask questions about what hurts, where X is people, process, technology, etc. If you ask more questions, you can pursue being more lean. In this case, more is leaner.
All right.